that the kitchen tells a story. How has your own story kind of shaped the way you approach kitchen design today?
Well, it's an evolution, most definitely. My life and kitchens, but definitely my story because I do come from a very cultural background where food was part of the culture, and my mom, um, second generation Mexican American, and my father being Creole from New Orleans. So food are both highly influenced in both those cultures. So we definitely grew up making tamales or making gumbo around a holiday where everybody gathered, and it did become like the core of the culture.
Mhm.
So I think food was always a part of growing up. And I feel like having had those experiences, it definitely brought me into the and developing a love for cooking. Now, even though I don't necessarily make those same exact foods the same way, they're definitely part of a culture of cooking. And so I've kind of evolved to my own cooking, but cook where we gather every time we gather with friends, cooking is like the foundation of what we're gathering about.
Gotcha. It's interesting
So
you.
it
Oh, go ahead. I'm
it
sorry.
does so it does influence on how I design a kitchen. It tells a story because I can relate to how people cook and how they move around in a kitchen, and to me, that's super important.
Yeah. I think, especially in that role with kitchens being kind of, I mean, that being your niche, it's so important for you to understand the dynamics of a kitchen and how people work in it. And I mean, from very different, whether you're just a family of one or you have family reunions a few times a month and you have
Right.
full. So that's,
Right. And I have staff that have been with me for a very long time where cooking isn't so much a part of their lives. And it's interesting when I look at different layouts that they're doing, I'll say, but this isn't necessarily functional to how you would move. So it does really lend itself to a story,
yeah.
um, being able to have that experience.
Okay. I was actually gonna, one of my first questions and I forgot was I was gonna ask you if you had any Creole family because I recognized the last name and I was like, I wonder. So
Yeah, so my father's family's from New Orleans, and it's
okay.
funny, off topic a little bit, but I did do my DNA, and I just thought, oh gosh, I must be like 20% French. Well, I had 2% French blood in me.
That is funny. Did you get to
Yeah.
visit there a lot as a child? I just imagine being in those kitchens as well was
Oh
probably
my
a lot
gosh.
of fun.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, I don't even think they know what a 6 pot or 8 quart stock pot. I mean, they're working in 5 gallon pots,
Yeah,
right? And I'm thinking, when are we going to eat all this food?
that is funny.
Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned this at the beginning, but after losing your showroom and your offices in the fires, how was the process of kind of rebuilding impacted you personally and professionally? And what has this chapter kind of taught you about resilience and reinvention when it comes to your career and your kind of your legacy within your firm and what you're building there?
So, I mean, it's still very new, and although I do have my house, I live probably about 8 miles from where the showroom was located. The day of the fire, I just knew we were all coming back because it wasn't out of the norm to leave for a fire. But it would have been more of like something that started up in the mountains because we were up in the mountains from about 3/4 of a mile from the beach. Pacific Palisades is almost where the ocean meets the mountains. And
Mm.
so there were a lot of little wildfires, but I just knew we were coming back. And that evening, I remember driving home and I took absolutely nothing. And it was part of a second home. It's where I had a lot of the things that meant a lot to me, having been there in that space for 32 years. Um, but coming home and seeing the quick progression of the fire and how it was just devastating a community, I just knew at that moment I wasn't coming back. And I remember seeing late at night that I they flashed back on Sunset Boulevard, and I saw the building going down, and that's how I knew it was no longer. And it was almost like a dream because it didn't only happen to me, but being there for 32 years, so many of my, I would say probably 60% of our work was in that community. And knowing how many people that I knew were devastated, how many projects I had just put the hammer down on, and not even 6 months to a year old. And so I was just, it was a daze. And I kind of walked that daze for about 3 to 4 days. And I kind of just felt like, okay, it's time for a new chapter, Caren, and um, I just said, I've been in this business a long time, so maybe I need to be still and open up to other options and possibilities, whatever that looks like. And I would say within the first week, I had probably 10 clients reach out to me saying, you better not get out of this business. We're depending on you to rebuild. And I went, wow, I matter. And some clients call me saying, I don't know what to do. Like just it was surreal because some people were deliberate in saying, we want you to be a part of it. And some people were just saying, this is just, I don't know what to do. How are you handling this? And just like someone who's been through it, how to react. And I think it took me about a week to 2 weeks. And I said, okay, I'm going back. And that's all I said. I didn't say how that was going to be. I didn't think about it. And I live in a small little cottage in LA, a little Spanish bungalow, and they all have detached garages, which everybody's kind of converted into like an accessory unit. So I had like a little workout room and a second bedroom or a third bedroom, and I cleared it out and I just told staff, this is where we're working. This is our home. I don't know what the next step is, but this is what we're doing. And I had that done within a week. And I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks into it. I didn't know where we were going. And one of the girls said something to me. And I said, okay, this is clearly not going to work for long term. And also, at that time, I had 60% of work that we were getting ready to break ground on that was no longer on the books. So I was thinking, I don't know what work is going to look like. I got to take this slow. And it was almost like starting over because I had to recoup that 60% and if I wanted to keep staff in place. And I just hit the ground running. And that's where I realized my resilience lies. It's nothing I think about. It's just what I need to do. And that's just a part of my being. And I realize that now how much resilience makes a difference. Yeah, so I didn't even realize that part of me that I was like I guess that is resilience. Just like let's what's the next step? And so I really didn't have time to think of my loss. I just was rebuilding for what I had already established, staff and clients.
Was
Um,
was it somewhat encouraging? I don't know if that's the right word or not, but to have clients who had kind of gone through this loss with you, so they kind of understood. So it's not like they were like, Caren, why aren't you doing this? Because they were like, oh, because that resource is not available. Maybe she's not able to take care of XYZ. Am I making sense? I don't know.
yes, a lot of them asked me. They said, "I don't even know how we could ask you right now. Are you going to help us because you've shared the same loss?" And I'm like, but what, this is all I know.
Yeah.
This is what I do. This is all I know. So, yes, I'm going to be there to help you rebuild and we'll figure it out. And one of my clients even, um, called me and about 4 weeks after the fire and she said, can we meet for lunch or a cup of tea? And I said, sure. So I met her and she said, Caren, I don't even know if you realize, but everybody's that I know, because I know so much of the community, they're just saying, well, we need to ask Caren what we need to do. What's our next steps? And I'm certainly not a contractor. Nobody really knew what the process was going to be. But she says, I don't even know if you realize, like, you're the ringleader here. People are relying on, like, what's Caren doing? And I think it's part of my character.
Yeah.
And but it is, it's a community, and it's a community where we all have related to some devastation, and we're going to all pick ourselves up and kind of just, yeah,
Restart.
restart. What else can you do?
Yeah,
I kept thinking, like, okay, so if I don't go on, what's the other option,
there's not really one.
There's really not one.
Um,
So but I am rebuilding in Santa Monica, and it'll be on a much smaller scale. I signed the lease in March, and in fact, I just called one of my installers. I'm like, cabinetry is arriving, and I said, I know our clients are first, but I've been paying rent since April.
um,
Yeah.
but kind of reflecting on that space, what can visitors expect to experience there, and how does it maybe reflect this new chapter in your design journey?
So, um, it's it's about it's smaller. We have about 75% of the space we had, but a lot of that was intentional. I look at where I am in my life, and also I didn't own the building that burned, so I was the renter. So there's very little rights about what you can get back for financial support and from insurances and so forth. So I'm doing it on my own, and so I said I want to be a little bit more practical, mindful about it. And so it's a smaller space. Whereas we had maybe two or three displays in our last showroom, there will be one display, and it will be an operational kitchen, which we did not have in the last, which was also very intentional. And I really want this new showroom in chapter 2.0 to reflect more of the things I love. And it kind of encompasses my last book, which is, entertaining, kitchen design, and wine. And the book, I know we're jumping around, but the book kind of came about because I had had all of these images for kitchens that we had done. And when I said, gosh, we've got so much money in this. What do we do with all this photography? And so a book just seemed like, why not do a book? Well, having gotten into it, I realize now why more people don't do them. But when I took it to my publisher, Pointed Leaf Press, they started thinking, and they said, we should be doing it on entertaining wine, because I can see all of those images in all of that in these images. And so I realized, well, it's really my lifestyle and it's what I love. So the new showroom is going to be these things, and I really want to bring in some local chefs that can come in and do like small workshops, um, how to make great salsas, how to make tortillas, culinary experiences that we can invite public to. And then um, and then we will have a very small conference room where we meet with our clients, and then at night it will be a table to dine on.
That's awesome. That'll be a nice, I mean, you'll be able to use that space for so many different things, and it'll be really enrich an experience for clients, whether they're coming in for just maybe a class and they realize, oh, maybe I do want something in this space
Right,
to bring into my
right.
kitchen. So that's really, I feel like that's a very unique idea too. I've interviewed quite a few people, and at no point anybody has said that. So I'm a fan. I'm a
Yeah.
fan.
I mean, I'm like thinking, so this is going to be like not the last chapter, but this will be where we land. And a lot of people are asking me, are you going to go back into the Palisades? And I said no, because there's an investment in a new space, and it just doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
Um,
That'll be a lot of fun for you for sure.
mhm.
Especially, I mean, I would do that, and I don't need a new.
And and the new location is literally maybe 5 miles from the old
Oh,
location.
okay. So not far at
So
all.
it's no.
Okay. A brief discussion at last year's High Point. We understand that you're involved in a mentorship program. Can you share more about that initiative and why supporting emerging designers is important to you?
Yeah, that's a really easy question and answer. Um, it's like we attract what The foundation was born out of the Design Leadership Network, which has been a pretty well established network of designers in the US for, gosh, I want to say 15, 20 years, 20 years. And so the foundation was born on the idea that, and it changes and evolves, and the mission statement changes, but it was out of the movement of the DEI, and um, it was created to help students who maybe didn't have the means for college get through it. And it started with an architect in New York who had to go speak at the Mississippi State University. And when he through his talking, he realized there were a lot of students that struggled and were having a hard time in that architectural program, not only staying there, it had a high minority, one of the highest minority enrollments. And he just felt like there's a place to help, especially with a luxury network like we have. And so I was kind of pulled into it, and it was so appropriate because mentorship is huge for me. Somebody mentored me because I did, again, going back to my college experiences, I thought after the first 2 years I was done, and I didn't realize, oh no, you're just beginning. And I just didn't even know how to begin to get there. And I didn't think, and when you feel that way, you also don't even feel like you belong there. And so it really takes mentorship to say, yes, you do. There's a lot of people that like you. And so mentorship that's what got me to the next place. And so it's super important for me to give back in that way. And we started in Mississippi, where we probably been about 5 years, where we go and mentor students for 3 days, and down to interning, how to interview, what you look like, the portfolio, from the very beginning. And we just really try to inspire the students and unleash all the non-confident things that come up. And then being successful with that program, I said, "Gosh, how can we make an impact in Los Angeles, here in my neighborhood?" So I started with the community college level because that was my experience, and I started with Santa Monica Community College. There's again a high minority of interior, and I say minority because that's my experience. It's not a criteria by any means. If someone needs help, they need help, but you kind of always rely on to what your own experiences were. And so this year will be the third year where we're doing mentorship, and I bring in professionals, and we just do 2 days of mentoring to these students and trying to get them to go to the next level. And so it's called the Design Leadership Foundation, and we another one of the board members started in Atlanta. This in September will be the first one. So the idea is to really just bridge it across the US and be able to help students.
How do you tailor each kitchen to kind of reflect the individuality of your clients? And can you maybe share a story where a design truly captured their essence and their kind of need in a kitchen space?
Yeah, so for me, it's you know relative to design, kitchens are universal in a sense that everybody loves together in their kitchens, whether it's a task of homework, whether it's something like, well, we're just going to have dinner together and then they disperse. But kitchen is the place where I feel like it brings people together. And then it can be the place where you're entertaining, and everybody comes and hangs in the kitchen while the hosts are cooking. So I feel like it tells the story on its own. The hardest part is being not the hardest part, but the finite part is when I go in and meet with a client, is how do you use the space? And it's singling in not what their friends do, because some clients will say, "Oh, I want to have this and I want it, my friend has this." But tell me what do you use your kitchen for? And and I we're creatures of habit, so I tend to go back and land on that function first. But I'm always thinking about how can we build on it. So I might have some clients that say we have young kids, we're just kind of cooking the not fun stuff, chicken nuggets, and but I'm thinking, well, we're going to set this up because your kids are going to grow up, and how do you ultimately want to use the kitchen? So we provide the current need, but also how can I grow into it and it will still function, 10 or 20 years later.
Okay. Have you ever, to kind of get that experience from a family, gone in and just be like, hey, cook me a meal and I'm going to hang around you for the next 2 hours just to see how they use the space and maybe figure out
I
things that they
haven't
didn't
done it
realize they
like
needed?
I haven't done it like that so much, but I will say as you work on kitchens, um, you do really learn about your clients and they'll end up cooking something for me maybe after in their new appliances. But everybody does cook differently. Some of it is driven by culture, some of it is they're bakers, some of it, and we try to create those needs. And also, do you have kids and is the island an area of prep and then in the evening or in the late afternoon a place for homework? So, how do these different tasks come in?
Yeah, my husband and I tease each other a lot. I was like, I wish we had two different kitchens because we both love to cook, but we cook in very different ways.
Okay.
So like the way we utilize kitchens is or a kitchen space is very different. It's always funny because it is the way our personalities are. And my son's like, that is not how mom does it. And then he'll say, that's not how dad does it. So I'm like, well, you
That's
just
true.
figure out how to do it
Everybody,
from whichever way works.
right. Everybody is different. But the one thing that is constant is that when you cook, the relativity of how the refrigerator functions to the sink and the sink functions, so those things are pretty constant, but how you prep is could be
It is all
so
over.
different. Yeah. And being in Los Angeles, I do get to see the larger kitchens.
Mhm.
So, um, in a larger kitchen, how that's laid out, larger kitchens can almost be more difficult than a standard kitchen because there's so much room.
So your collaborations, like the one you have with Gorky Gonzalez Pottery, showcase a strong appreciation for craft. How do you incorporate this artisanal and cultural elements into your work?
So, I have an infinite love of pottery. That is just something and I think I actually shared it with my mother. Um, I just have always loved pottery. And when I was in college in my early days, I think it became stronger when do you remember Bullock's department store?
Yeah.
Do you,
Hmm.
okay, so I worked at Bullock's department store and landed a job in the China and housewares department
Oh, okay.
by no accident. And to a point where I was in my second year of college and I was offered a management position to manage that department. And I was really highly considering it. I didn't do it because school pulled me in a different direction, but I could name every single pattern there was, and I just loved it. And and then I even went on to work for Dansk. Do you remember
Oh,
Dansk?
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And this was years ago. This is back in the 80s, late 70s or 80s. And I was even offered I worked directly for them to come back to New York and work in their pottery line. But I was very young but it was a close call. I was highly considering it, but I pursued my education. So I've just always loved pottery. And I started collecting simple pieces. Well, this is kind of a long story and I'll kind of sum it up. But I used to go home for Christmas to the holidays and I would go home and my mom and I would kind of go to one of the border towns of Mexico because we were in the southwest of Arizona. So we would drive for 2 hours and maybe we would go to Nogales, Mexico. And um, one day we were looking at the pottery and I found this very small little cup and saucer and I fell in love. This was probably in the late 80s And my mom says, I'm going to buy it for you. And I think at that time, the little espresso cup was probably about $10. And I said, I just love this little cup and saucer. And I looked it up, and um, years later, I ran into the same artist pottery somewhere else, and I ended up buying a pitcher. And I said, one day I am going to be able to afford to have a whole table of his pottery. And I did. I got the dinner plates first, and it was Gorky Gonzalez. And I was going to Guanajuato probably about 10 years ago. And I said, you know, I'm going to call Gorky. And I called him and looked him up, and I said, I'd love to come visit your workshop. And he welcomed me in, and I told him this story. And at that time, it was his father's work. It's a very literal type of painting. It's almost like, in Italy where they have the hand painted pottery, or it's they're known for it. It's in the brushstroke, and his father studied it, and then he's the second generation that's taken it over. And we went to his workshop, and I said, Gorky, would you ever collaborate with me? Because I just love it, and I would love to sell it in my showroom. And so we did. And so it has a special meaning because I literally fell in love with it probably 30 years ago.
Yeah, that is.
And so I lost all the stock in the last fire. So, and it was quite a bit. We had just done a reorder. And so I said, well, I'm starting back up with you, Gorky. I said, we're going to keep going. And I said, but maybe this is an opportunity to change the design and the patterns, having had the first generation. So we've slowly changed it to what we're having our second generation, which is in production now.
Mhm.
But I'll use it in the new showroom, and people buy it. And again, it's part of the kitchen, it's part of entertaining. So, and I get to have all the things I love.
That's now I don't know how often you've had a chance to maybe visit Mississippi whenever you've gone through the mentorship, but did you ever come across any of the McCarty's pottery while you were there?
I didn't, but I would look it up. I'll
Yeah,
definitely
so
look it
it's a
up.
very famous potter that
I'm
I
gonna
think
write
he
it
uses,
down.
but it's McCartys. And it's my mother
Okay.
loves McCarty's pottery, and so what I get her every year for Christmas is a piece from
And
there.
it's in Mississippi?
It's out of Mississippi, yes, and I believe it's
Okay.
made with like the Mississippi mud. There's like some long, but it's something you definitely I think you would enjoy looking at.
Oh yeah. I remember going with some friends years ago. We were in North Carolina and Virginia, and we went on like a little pottery run. Like they have, like almost like if you'd go wine tasting, and they have all these little tasting rooms. And so, well, they
Yep.
had pottery,
Mhm.
and that was just so magical for me. I
It is
was,
really unique. That's what my mom, we tease her because she loves dishes and like she just loves all. I think I have four sets of dishes that I do not ever use because there are three of us, and I'm like, what am I
what do I,
what am I going to do with all of them? But I'm like,
right.
when you pass away, I don't know what I'm going to do because you have like 17 sets of dishes and
They,
pottery, but it's just what she loves and it's her passion.
that's what I love.
She just, and I don't think she ever worked in a department store in the China area, but that probably should have been her retirement gig.
Gosh,
But
we could talk because my nephews will come in, and they'll say, "Well, I want this one," and they just know it because we had several meals on it. But I said, if nobody wants it, don't just go drop it off somewhere. I said, have a big party when I'm gone, drink good wine, eat it something on those plates, and just throw it in a bonfire. Like let it go down with me.
that makes sense. Okay, so what are some of your favorite ways to entertain at home, and how does your design philosophy support those meaningful gatherings at home?
So I think I learned this during COVID mostly because, and I think, COVID changed so many people's lives because I think about how much we entertained in, I have a very small house. It's well done, but it's still small. And we crammed so many people inside a dining room or a kitchen. And um, it kind of forced us to go outside and use the backyard. throughout the year. So I feel like what happened is entertaining became bigger. So whereas we used to have 6 or 8 people over for wine and food, and my partner being a winemaker, I mean, there's always food and wine at our, and everybody wants to come to our house because we have wine and the food and the dishes. But instead of just inviting 6 to 8 people, I found that it grew from 8 to 12 or 12 to 15 because we were outside. And so I learned to I want to be with my friends and family. I don't want to be in a kitchen. So everything that I prepare that I love to share with everybody is keep it easy. It's not about the food, it's about the entertaining. Like everybody loves the plates, everybody loves how it's set up, the garden, what it looks like. And I will sometimes just put folding tables with long, beautiful tablecloths, and you don't even know you're on a folding table, and it's just like we will then take the food to grilling where he can be grilling and we're outside with our guests. It could be grilled chicken, grilled asada, whatever it is keep it simple and prepare as many things in advance. So even if it's vegetables you're grilling, prep them before, have them laid out on a platter, know what dishes you're going to put. So it's just almost like this easy routine. And all of a sudden, people will say, "You make it look so effortless." But it's really because I thought about it before.
Yeah.
I even know what platter it's going to be served on. And they'll turn around and they'll say, "Gosh, we have all this food. Where did it come from?" But it's just knowing in advance. Like I'm not going to try to make a lasagna or something that's takes a lot of work when
Mhm.
when I'm entertaining. So I just keep it really simple. And I feel like a lot of times too, even if you do grilled kebabs or what can be made in advance, or even what are you going to buy? If you don't have to make everything, you could buy hummus and put it in a bowl and just, have it magically appear.
Nobody's gonna know.
Nobody's gonna know. So my philosophy is keep it simple, prep in advance so that when you're out, you're enjoying the party with everybody else.
So, kind of last question, looking ahead, what excites you the most about the future? Whether it's new design projects, expanding, I'm going to pronounce this hopefully correctly, Tierra y Vino.
Yes.
Ah, yay. Or simply welcoming people into your new showroom.
You know, the new move is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to reflect back on the way you did things before, how you did things before, and what can I do that's different? And I feel like I've had really good fortune. I've been successful, and I was never taught to be a business owner. It's evolved, and um, and so now I get to be me, and I get to do all the things that I love and share them with the world. And it is entertaining, and it is the love of cooking, and it is the love of designing a great kitchen. So it's all of those things that I now get to do. And I'm not concerned about failure. I mean, it's I think people love it. People love it. They want to be a part of it. So I think I just have all these dogs on me. I
Okay.
think looking ahead, I think looking ahead is that I get to be me and
Mhm.
I get to share it.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm looking forward to it. And Tierra y Vino, which is our wine label, it is a nice opportunity to merge the two together.
Okay.
And how that came about with the merging, not the wine. Like I do kitchens. I met my partner who's a wine. We've been together 20 years, and he was a winemaker like I was a designer. So um, I would find that when I would go into a new client's house, they say, "Gosh, I heard you guys make wine." And I get more questions about the winemaking before we even talked about the kitchens. So I found like there was a common ground and an interest there. And so was very easy to just merge those two lifestyles together. And we're all like, he's a hard worker. I'm a hard worker. We work all the time. And so we might as well be enjoying the life at the same time because it
Mhm.
is just this thread.
No, just curious. I'm not a big wine person, but I'm just curious what kind of wine. Is it a special grape that he uses, or
So
I don't know. I don't know why I'm asking this question because I know nothing about wine.
no, we specialize in wines from the region of Santa Barbara County.
Okay, gotcha.
And so that's going to be a lot of the Rhone style wines. So it's similar climate to the Rhone area of France. So we do
Oh, okay.
Syrahs, Viogniers, Petit Syrahs, that those kind of wines.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
gotcha. Is that
Yeah.
something, could I find your wines outside of that, of your area?
We only sell in the region because we're small producers, like maybe 1,200 cases,
Okay, gotcha.
which is not a lot. So we do have a little tasting room. But yes, look at our website, Dieta y Vino, it's .net.
Okay.
And then most of the wines are on there, or tell me what you like. And I love to share them with people. I love to share food. I love to share wine. That's what it's about.
Well, I don't think I have any other questions. Is there anything else that you were maybe hoping to share with us that I didn't ask you about, Karen? Whether it's professional, personal, just design in general.
No, I think you touched on all the things that are important to me. Yeah, I mean, I still love what I do. Yeah.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
Drapes behind you, I
Oh,
am not
yes.
with. Did you design? Where did those come from?
Okay, so and it's funny because I usually have but there's intense sun that's coming in right now. That's a Pierre Frey fabric.
Ah, that is beautiful.
And growing up, it's interesting growing up in the Southwest. I think things stay embedded, like the cactus.
Hmm.
And part of one of the collaborations of the designs plates I did has a cactus in it.
Okay.
So I think like your roots are stronger than you want them to be. But that's a Pierre Frey fabric.
Okay.
And you know what? There's like little embroideries
Hmm.
in
Oh, that's
it. Yeah. But I when I saw it, I loved it. So it's just one window I have in here that's covered.
that is.
It's in my kitchen. I'm working from home, so
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, learning more about you and your business, and your history, your experience within design. So I really appreciate you taking time to chat with me today.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Bye.
bye.